Hi friends, I'm Mike Malcolm, and this is Spired Tuesday, the video series that helps us evangelize Tulsa and the whole world using the beautiful art and architecture of Holy Family Cathedral and Classical School. Here we are in the third floor of Holy Family Classical School. If you're a regular viewer of the series, you'll remember that a few weeks ago we looked at the very top floor of the school because it was a convent for the religious sisters that lived and taught here. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, this floor, the third floor and the fourth floor, the top floor, belonged to the Chancery Offices for the Diocese of Tulsa. There's a little history lesson there. Come follow me and I will show you the bishop's office from 1979 through 95 or 6. And here it is, the bishop's office. In the early 1970s, Pope Paul VI decided that Oklahoma had grown too large to be contained within one diocese. So he split the so-called Diocese of Oklahoma into two. And there was the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City on the western side of the state and the Diocese of Tulsa on the eastern side of the state. That kind of split happens all the time. What it does is it causes a lot of commotion in the new diocese, Tulsa, for example, because we received our new bishop, Bishop Bernard J. Ganter, but his early task as a bishop was to establish all of the offices, all of the bureaucracy that is required to run a local Catholic church or a diocese. He needed to create offices for his chancellor, for his vicar general, for his marriage tribunal, for all the ministry leaders that work at the chancery. The very first location from about 1973 to maybe the late 1970s was a small building that was located where the Holy Family Classical School playground is right now. It was a ball bearing factory, it was a bakery, and then it was a chancery. It was a small building that held some space for the diocesan offices, but they were desperate because they needed a lot more space in which to collaborate. At the same time, in the 1970s, Holy Family was a much smaller school than it had been previously. Remember, in 1960, the last graduating class of Holy Family's high school had graduated here and at Marquette High School. They closed both of those high schools so that they could send all their students to Bishop Kelly High School, which was the brand new school at the time. What that ended up doing was creating an underpopulated school building. There were not enough students to fill all the classrooms in this school, so they worked out a deal. The bishop needed 2 stories of the school in which to put his offices, and Holy Family School occupied the bottom 2 floors. It was a good partnership. They both helped each other. One of the classrooms, this one, was turned into the bishop's office. And in fact, I have a very clear memory, as an old guy, of coming in and having a meeting with then Bishop Beltran towards the end of his time as the Bishop of Tulsa. I was young and holy and applying for the seminary program for the Diocese of Tulsa, and we met, and I remember very clearly sitting on 2 couches, sitting around a coffee table facing each other. This was the bishop's office. And here we are in another classroom of the school, but back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, this was the office of the vicar general, of the chancellor. The bishop even had a section, it's kind of back behind that wall, that was a dressing room and shower room. So if he had to work all day at the chancery, and if he had an event that evening, he could just stay at the office, shower, change, and be ready to be presentable for Tulsa in the evening. And out here in the hallway was a secretary's desk and then a waiting room, basically for guests who had to meet with diocesan officials. The classrooms on either side of the hallway were chopped up, converted into individual offices. It was kind of fun because you could go in through one classroom door and enter a maze of offices. There were connections between the current classrooms. There were doorways that were cut in the walls so that chancery employees could move from one part of the building to another. And finally, this classroom and art classroom was where a lot of the officials' secretaries had offices, a lot of walls and everything to divide things up. I will put up on the screen in front of you the blueprints that we have from a proposed modification to the building. They didn't build out the chancery exactly the way these blueprints show, but it's close to the concept of what they did. So, Holy Family School building, it's 125 years old. And it's gone through many distinct eras as the school has risen and fallen through history. As Holy Family Classical School experiences a renaissance, the school building, we find ourselves cramped for space once again as the school looks to grow beyond this building. Stay tuned for all kinds of great things with future Spired Tuesday. I'll see you next week.